Okay, let's just picture this.
So,
You're trying to lead a city. Everything you fought for seems to be crumbling. Enemies are literally outside the gates, and the air itself might kill you.
yeah, that immense pressure. That's right where this book drops us.
We're diving into this incredible book you brought, exploring that exact feeling.
It's set just a year after the big upheaval, the fall of the Lord Ruler.
Hmm.
And instead of peace, it's chaos. New problems, bigger maybe than the old ones.
Right. It's not just about surviving tyranny anymore. It's about building something new when the ground is shaking underneath you.
Exactly.
So our mission today really is to unpack this book, pull out the big ideas, the surprising moments, and help you make sense of what these characters are up against. It's about getting to the core.
Finding the threads that matter.
And, that whole process, extracting understanding from something complex, like we're doing with this book. That's something we touch on over on our YouTube channel with Mindful Moments. Yeah, they use AI book analysis, sort of designed to spark reflection, help you think critically about dense material. A bit like what we need for this story.
Definitely. This book gives us a lot to chew on.
So let's paint the picture. 1 year post-Lord Ruler, Luthadel. What's it actually like?
It's precarious. You've got this new, very fragile government led by Elend Venture. He's king almost by default after the revolution.
And things immediately get complicated. They're not just governing, they're under siege.
Pretty much instantly. His own father, Straff Venture, is parked outside with an army. And Straff is, well, he's not a nice guy. Ruthless.
And he's not the only one, right? There's another lord.
Lord said. Another powerful noble, also with an army, also eyeing Luthadel. So huge military pressure from outside.
But the book shows the inside isn't much better. It's just as messy.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Elend set up this assembly. It's supposed to be democratic, but mostly they just argue with them, block things. Plus, supplies are low because of the siege.
Yeah.
And then there were the mists.
Ugh, the mists. Used to be just a nighttime thing linked to allomancy. Now
they're showing up during the day, and people caught in them are dying. No one knows why.
Okay, so that's terrifying. A deadly creeping fog.
It really sets up the central question, doesn't it? What is happening to the world? Is this chaos, this new danger, actually worse than the predictable oppression they had before?
That's a heavy question hanging over everything, and it puts Elend right in the crosshairs. This idealist, this scholar, suddenly a king under fire.
His whole arc is fascinating. He's trying to rule by the book, literally. Laws, fairness, debate, in a world that only respects power. His own father is trying to kill him. Set's playing games. The assembly is undermining him.
I remember that line. He's so frustrated with the assembly, but he still says, I will not be an exception to my own laws. Even though it seems like the worst possible move politically.
That's Elend, isn't it? That commitment to principle. It's his strength, but maybe also his biggest weakness in that situation. And Tindwyl sees it.
Tindwyl, the Terrace Keeper sent to make him kingly. She doesn't pull any punches.
None at all. She tells him straight up something like, you can, perhaps, learn to be a king. Until then, you'll just have to learn to fake it. Brutal, but maybe necessary.
She's all about the pragmatics of leadership. That other line sticks with me, too, about arrogance.
Oh, yeah. Successful leaders all share one common trait. They believe that they can do a better job than the alternatives. She calls it arrogance. For Elend, who doubts himself constantly, that's a tough pill to swallow.
She's pushing him hard. But even with all that, even when the assembly basically boots him out, he decides to leave Luthadel.
He goes searching for the Well of Ascension, this legendary place from the prophecies.
Why? What's he hoping to find?
Power, maybe. Answers. Something to save his people. Because even after they reject him, he won't abandon them. He tells Vin, I can't leave them. They rejected me, but I won't abandon them. That says so much.
It really does, that core goodness. It's one of those positive threads shining through the darkness,
Absolutely. It's a powerful counterpoint to all the cynicism.
Okay, let's shift to Vin. Hero of the first part, killed the Lord Ruler. But here, she seems lost.
Her identity is all over the place. She's this incredibly powerful mistborn. She's been a noble lady for a bit. She was a street kid. And now everyone sees her as Kelsier's heir, the lady heir. It's a lot. She keeps thinking, I'm not Kelsier. Questioning where she even fits.
And her powers. They almost feed her paranoia, don't they? That background she has.
Right. Constantly burning tin for senses, pewter for strength, and bronze. always bronze, listening for other allomancers. She even tests her friends like Ham, Demu, flares bronze near them just to be sure.
That deep mistrust. Except for Elin. The book is really clear on that.
Crystal clear. This one man she would trust.
Yeah.
That bond is her anchor, especially given her past. It's fundamental.
But then Zane shows up. Straff's other son, also a Mistborn. He's a different kind of threat.
Zane is unsettling. He burns Adicium, which is terrifying in a fight, lets him see the future for a few seconds. But worse, he gets inside her head, tells her things like, "We don't belong in their world," asks her, "Can a man love something he doesn't understand?" He's this dark mirror, tempting her away.
Facing him, especially with Itafordium, you really feel her fear. Even Vin, the survivor's heir, feels vulnerable.
And layered on top of all that are the mists. They're killing people, yes, but Vin, she feels them differently, almost connected, and she sees this figure, this mist spirit.
Which points them north, initially, towards where they think the well is.
Right. And all this forces her to wonder, could she be the hero of ages? Is this the return of the deepness, this ancient evil? It's overwhelming.
She pushes back against it, though, doesn't she? Thinking something like, one freak event doesn't mean I'm some mythological savior.
Exactly. She's carrying Kelsier's legacy, the world's hopes, her own doubts, and fighting Kolos single-handedly sometimes. The exhaustion is palpable.
But her resilience is incredible, and she has this amazing insight about Eland, comparing him to Kelsier.
Yeah, that's a beautiful moment. She sees Eland's quiet belief in people, his inherent trustworthiness, as a different kind of strength, maybe even greater than Kelsier's charisma. She thinks it's not naivete, it's what Kelsier had, only greater.
That's such a key piece of analysis in the story, isn't it? About leadership and trust. A real positive takeaway.
Definitely reframes strength. Okay, let's talk Sisricized, the Talisman Keeper. His job seems simple at first. Preserve knowledge.
He's the ultimate historian, right? Using Feruchemy to store memories, languages, religions, everything. He's like a living library.
But this book throws him into the deep end.
Yeah.
He's not just recording history. He's investigating a crisis.
Right, tracking the killer day mists, finding that village where everyone just died, no wounds.
It leads him to suspect the mists aren't just weather. They're the deepness, returning.
And his translation work. The logbook of Quan. That's huge.
Absolutely critical. It tells the story of Alendi, the supposed original hero, and Rashek, the guy who became the Lord Ruler.
Yeah.
But then the torn pages,
yeah.
that repeating sentence, Alendi must not reach the Well of Ascension.
Finding that just turns everything upside down for Sas, doesn't it? His whole understanding of the prophecy, the Lord Ruler.
Completely. And it sparks these intense debates with Tynwell, who is also a keeper. They argue about prophecy, the mists, Aelin's destiny.
But Sast isn't just talking. He gets captured by Kolos.
And uses his Feruchemy, cleverly, to survive and get away. He's not just a scholar anymore.
And that scene during the siege, holding the gate, using his iron mind to store weight.
Fantastic moment. Shows his quiet strength, his dedication, even while he's wrestling with huge doubts, questioning his sanity, arguing with clubs about how hard it is to believe anything anymore. Kindwell challenges him about hope itself.
Which brings us to the well's location. Sazd points him north, based on the texts. But Ven feels it south, in Luthadel.
That's the kicker, isn't it? Was Sazd just wrong? Did he misread the signs?
Yeah.
Or was there something else going on, something related to those torn pages maybe? Did he mislead them, perhaps thinking it was for the best?
It throws this shadow or doubt over the one character you thought was the reliable source of truth. Really makes you think.
It does. But it's not just these three carrying the story. The rest of Kelsier's crew, they're vital. Their loyalty is remarkable.
Yeah, he's got Ham, the thinker fighter, Breeze, the cynical soother, always questioning why he's even there, Doxin, trying to keep things running, completely overwhelmed, Clubs, the grumpy general with surprising humor.
And that great exchange between Breeze and Clubs, wondering why a bunch of thieves like them are risking their necks for an idealist like Eland, and they just land on, I guess we're just idiots.
It says so much about that bond Kelsier forged, right? That loyalty carrying over, even when it doesn't quite make logical sense to them. That's another positive current.
Absolutely. Shared history, shared purpose. It matters. And then there's Ursur, the Kandra.
His perspective is totally alien, bound by the contract. He sees himself as a tool.
The contract is everything, he keeps saying. But Vin, she offers him something radical. Freedom. A choice beyond the contract. It's a fascinating interaction.
And it plays into the paranoia, too, right? Because Kandra can wear bodies, mimic anyone. The fear of a spy is always there.
Always. And speaking of threats, you see Straff's cold cruelty versus Set's cunning. poisoning wells, bribes. But Set makes a surprising call later.
So all these characters, all these plots, they all smash together back in Luthadel.
Right. The siege tightens. You feel the fear in the city, people hiding from the mists. Eland's trying desperately to prepare, barring gates, moving people.
And then the Koloss attack, just sheer brutality.
It's overwhelming. The defense is desperate. The crew fights. The soldiers fight. Vin gets back just in time, fighting through the chaos. Sest is holding that gate.
And Set comes back.
Yeah, brings his army back not to conquer, but to fight the Kolos. A moment of unexpected unity, maybe? Or just self-preservation.
And right in the middle of this madness, Vin has her revelation, the mist spirit, that weird thumping sound she feels.
She realizes the well isn't north. It's here. It's in Luthadel.
Wow. Talk about a last-minute plot twist. Everything shifts.
Instantly, their whole mission changes. Right there, under attack.
Okay, so let's pull these threads together. What does this book really show us about?
Well, about leading through chaos, about figuring out who you are when the world expects something else.
It really highlights these core tensions, doesn't it? Idealism versus pragmatism, that's Eland's entire struggle against the world. Order versus chaos, the memory of the Lord Ruler's harsh stability versus this terrifying new uncertainty.
Vin's journey is identity versus expectation. Who is she really beneath all the labels?
And Sasaized embodies knowledge versus prophecy versus reality, trying to make sense of ancient texts when the world itself seems to contradict them, and underlying it all. Trust versus paranoia affects everyone.
It plays out on a huge scale, but also deep inside each character. And like we said, despite the grimness, there are these positive forces. Focus 5, Eland's stubborn idealism, it does offer hope.
Vin's sheer resilience is inspiring. The crew's loyalty, their banter even under pressure, that connection matters. Safai's commitment to finding truth, even scary truth. It shows hope isn't about ignoring the dark. It's about choosing your values, your connections, even when it's incredibly hard. Imperfect people trying anyway.
Exactly.
Which kind of brings it back to you, listening. You see these characters wrestling with bad information, prophecies that might be lies, people they can't quite trust. It feels familiar, right? We're all trying to navigate complexity.
For sure.
This book really underscores how vital critical thinking is. Questioning assumptions, looking for different angles, just like Eland, Vin, and Saized are forced to do constantly.
It's a crucial skill, inside stories and out.
And hopefully, exploring this book, digging into its themes, has given you some things to think about, maybe spark some reflection, kind of like the thinking encouraged by those mindful moments, analyses, or really the kinds of topics we try to tackle across our podcasts.
Always good to keep thinking.
So maybe let's leave you with this question, straight from the heart of this book's world. If prophecies that guided generations can turn out to be wrong, or maybe deliberately misinterpreted, and if people you trust might mislead you, thinking it's for the greater good, how do you ever really know who or what to believe when everything's hitting the fan?
Heavy thought to end on.
Thank you for joining us as we unpacked this book.
Yeah, I hope you found it interesting.
If this was helpful, maybe consider subscribing. And if you know someone else who enjoys getting into complex stories and thinking critically, feel free to share this with them.
We'll put links related to the book, maybe where you can find it, in the show notes.
And remember, keep asking questions, keep reflecting,
and keep thinking critically about the world around you.